In this video tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to use your flat wearable wire weaver for loom weaving, and we're going to create a very unique looking ring. Our warp wires, which are the wires that run the long ways between the loom ends, we're going to put in 4 wires. Your weaver will allow you to weave in a loom position up to 16 wires. So you're going to put your wire in between the ends through the reed, and you want to try and get things centered for however many wires you're working with. So once you put it through one end, you're going to run it through the reed and then through the opposite end. Then you're going to wrap the wire around one of the top pegs to lock it in place. If you've ever done any traditional loom work, you know that you need full tension on your warp wires, and it's a little bit different when you're working with wire. Wire doesn't have the give that textiles do, so you do not want extreme tension on your wires, or you won't be able to get your reed to pull and push your wires up and down as you weave with your weft wire. So you're going to continue to go back and forth in this manner until you have installed all of the warp wires. In this case, we're using 4 warp wires. I'm straightening the wires as I install them with my nylon pliers. I have inserted the wire weaver into a fixture that I made. If you want to check the video link at the top corner of this video, you can learn how to make one of these for yourself. Now I've set up the warp wires in 18 gauge and my weft wires are 20 gauge. Thinner wire is a lot easier to weave, and you'll get a tighter weave than if you used say 16 gauge wire for your weft. So just by moving your reed up and down, you're going to weave your weft wires from right to left and left to right. So as I go from right to left, I'm pushing down on my reed. As I come back from left to right, I'm lifting up on the reed. And that separates the wires for you to be able to weave them through. And I'm using the reed to pack the wires down tight. You can also use the included wire comb if you want to pack your wires down tight. You can use the loom in much the same manner that you would with textiles. You could add beads, you could add different kinds of wires. Really, the creativity is endless. Just as it is in textile weaving, you can have endless creativity in wire loom weaving. So you're just going to continue in this manner until you have gone as far as you would like to go. If you would like to make more than one ring, it would be a lot more efficient to do both of them on this entire row than it would be to cut this off and waste empty wire at the top. So you would just make one section, skip up the wires a little bit, start again, and make a second section. I hope I made that clear. So once you have woven as much wire as you would like. You're going to cut everything free. I'm leaving extra length on the warp wires, and I'm going to leave extra length down at the bottom. Now you're not going to have as much length on the warp wires at the bottom, so always weave more than the desired amount. That way you have some to play with. So I removed some of mine, wrapped the free end around the closest warp wire to lock it in place, and snip that off. Now I went ahead and annealed this because I wanted to get everything really packed in super tight. Annealing is not necessary, just an extra step that I did for this ring. And now I'm going to shape it around a steel ring mandrel, and I'm going to take the 4 warp wires on the left and the 4 warp wires on the right, and I'm going to cross them over, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Once it is off of the ring mandrel, I'm going to take the top and the bottom ones and cross them over, then straighten them with the nylon jaw pliers. This is really a great beginner project because there is no complicated tools and there is no soldering involved. So I'm using a round nose plier, and I'm going to curl each one of these warp wires. And this does 2 things. One is it creates the ring and locks it together, and the other is it makes a really nice decorative effect. And really you're only limited by your own imagination in how you want to approach this. The ring is nice because you can make adjustments to the size of the ring just by how tight you cross your wires. So if you want a ring that's a little bit bigger than what you've created, then you're just not going to pull your ends together as tight as I have them here. You can see my ends are butted right up against each other. But if you have a gap in there, you're obviously going to have a larger ring. You can put beads on here, crystals on here, really just an amazing amount of options that you have when it comes to wire working. And I'm just going to let you enjoy the rest of the wrapping of these wires. Alright, now all the coils have been made. I'm just going to go in and make sure everything is straight with all of my wires and evenly spaced. And then I'm going to make sure it is shaped properly by tapping it on a steel ring mandrel. Make sure you flip it over to get it even. Then it went into a bath of liver of sulfur to darken everything up, and now I am removing liver of sulfur on the high spots using a buff on one of my rotary tools. You can do this with steel wool. You can also do this with sandpaper, any way that you would normally remove excess liver of sulfur. I have a great preference for liver of sulfur, and especially in copper and silver work, because I like the depth that it gives the pieces. And I'm going around the edges and the inside as well. I'm going to touch it up even further with a sanding sponge. After that, it went into a tumbler with stainless steel shot and 920 compound and got everything really nice and bright and shiny. And that does allow for the liver of sulfur to stay in the recessed areas. And I decided to add a little bling with crystal rivet, and installing that with our exclusive crystal rivet pliers. You can find those along with many other jewelry making tools that we supply on our website using the link in the description box below. And just fussed a little bit more with my curls, adjusted them to my liking. You could put crystals in every one of those curls. I just put the one in, and you can see it makes an extremely unique looking ring. If you like the work that we do, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, post them and I'd be more than happy to answer them.